Social media is killing everyone, yet nobody's really talking about it. And here's why. Think about how much time you spent on TikTok and Reels. Really think about that question over the stretch of your teenage years to maybe even your early adulthood. Just think about how much time you've actually spent on TikTok and Reels. The reason why I say TikTok and Reels in specific is because most people are just spending their time on these two sort of apps, right? It's mainly just short form scrolling that people are using, and no one really fucking uses YouTube Shorts for scrolling. At least I don't think anyone does. But anyways, just think about how much time you've spent on TikTok and Reels, right? I could talk about other platforms like Snapchat and Instagram and other stuff. I mean, Reels is Instagram, but just think about how much time you spent, right? From 11 to 12, right, when you first installed TikTok, to the age you are now. Just think about how many hours in total you've spent on TikTok and Reels. It's definitely a lot. And here's the thing. I asked ChatGPT how many hours the average teenager spends, and it came up with this, right? This is the average teenager in Gen Z, right? Over a week, 7 hours a day. Holy shit. 7 hours a day is spent fucking scrolling. Think about that, right? It says literally here, right? Let me get my fucking pen. A full-time job. A full-time job spent fucking scrolling. You don't get paid. You don't build anything. It's fucking unbelievable, right? Over a year, 2,500 to 3,000 hours. That is not a joke. That is literally real time that most guys are spending. That's real time you've lost, right? And this is the same for me. This isn't just you, right? This is me as well. I've lost as much time as you have, right? Maybe not as much time as you have because I don't use social media anymore, but it's still a fucking lot, right? 4 months of your entire year, that's a third. That's like a third, right? That is crazy, right? This is just fucking unbelievable, right? This is in perspective, right? And this is probably an average, right? If ChatGPT is giving you information, this is basically an average, right? And then it says, give a simple mental image, right? This is also another thing that I found. Imagine finishing school and then spending basically the rest of your day on your phone until bed. That's what the average is getting close to. And this is something that people don't realize. The average is critically behind, right? When it says the average of something, it's actually way behind. This is crazy, right? So it's way more. The rest of your day on your phone until bed. That's crazy, honestly. And then it says average here, right? Average hides a big range. Again, this is true, right? It says some teens spend 2 to 4 hours a day. I don't know if it's just you, but I don't know a single fucking teenager my age or someone who's maybe younger than me that spends 2 to 4 hours a day on their phone. So some teens, right? You're not some teens. Let's get this off of here, right? Many spend 5 to 8 hours, heavy uses of up to 10 hours. This is fucking mental. And I hope I'm not the only one that thinks this is crazy, because the amount of time people are losing is absolutely horrendous, right? This is just disgusting, right? And this is just what Reddit, casually 4 to 10 hours. This seems a bit more realistic. Lines up pretty well with the research. The research is getting worse, right? The average teen is spending probably 8 to 10, honestly. Like, it's crazy, right? And then I wanted to highlight this, right? This is another picture I found. If I can get rid of these, I'll show you. Look at this, right? Look at this. The key thing people don't realize, it doesn't feel like 7 hours because it's split into hundreds of tiny sessions, right? This is probably what you can relate to, right? Hundreds of tiny sessions where you're just grabbing your phone and checking Reels for 5 minutes. You're going on your phone, you're scrolling on TikTok for 5 minutes. And then, apps are designed to feel quick. I made a video about this somewhere on my channel, so if you want to watch that, it'd be great. But this is the big thing, right? No one notices the total adding up. Everyone just notices that their time's gone, which is the scariest part about this. It's not something you feel, it's not something you see. It's just something that just ends up happening, which is the scariest thing, right? This is literally the most honest, realistic explanation of this, right? I've only been on my phone for a bit. It's taken over most of your time, right? This is fucking scary. Anyways, this was me at 13. Right, I look like a completely different person now, right? If you look at my face now, I look like a completely different person. But this was me at 13, right? This was me in year 8, so this would have been a few years ago, right? This was me in year 8, right? You can see my facial features, right? Look how fucking shit they look. Look how chopped I look. You know, all the look smaxers that do all the analysis thing. If someone analysed my face, I'd be like a 2. I wouldn't even be like above a 5, right? I'd be like a 2, right? Look at these fucking ugly teeth, right? I'm just fucking chopping myself up, but yeah, right? This was me at 13, right? I had no muscle, This is my physique, right? I had like the skinniest arms ever. Like these are like pencil arms, right? Pencil arms, and I had like some fucking flabby fucking stomach, right? I looked like shit, right? I don't even know what was going on here. I don't even know where this video came from. But yeah, this was me at 13, right? And this was the average routine I was living by. This was my daily routine for a school day, right? I would wake up between 7 to 8 a.m., right? Usually it'd be 7:45 because I wanted to spend as much time in bed before. And I'd spend 30 to 45 minutes on TikTok, and I would check Instagram, right? This was always a guarantee, right? I would always be doing this shit. I would always be spending time on TikTok and checking Instagram, always before bed, right? I was always doing this. And then, right, I'd obviously have to go to school. So I'd brush my teeth, I'd get to school, and I would literally just look at the girls I was too scared to talk to. There was always like these few girls in my year group, in my class, that I just thought were super fit and like really attractive, and I just never spoke to them. Like, let's say you're the girl, right? And you walked in, I'd kind of just be like this, right, in my own head. She's pretty fit. I'm not going to talk to her, am I? That was literally me. Like, I'm not even joking. I was like the biggest autist ever. And I literally went to school to look at the girls that I just found attractive and I was too scared to talk to. And that was from like 8 till 3. Not obviously I wasn't doing this all the time, but most of the time I was just spent fantasizing over girls that just didn't really like me, which was it. And then after school, right after I finished school, I would just go out and hang out with like random people. Like, it used to be the most random people. And usually we'd go to the park and play football, or we'd do some random stuff and like knock on some random person's door, and then they'd come like running out chasing us. But yeah, go out with random people from 3 to 5. Sometimes it'd be up to 6 or 7 or whatever. And I would spend quite a few hours after school just doing random shit in my school uniform. And then after that, I'd get home, eat some bullshit. And then for the remainder of the evening, right, from 7 till like 11 till like maybe even 1 a.m., I would scroll, I would goon, and I would just consume random bullshit. That was my life. When I was 13 years old, when I was in year 8, this was my life. I'd wake up, I would spend 30 to 45 minutes on TikTok and checking Instagram, doing random shit, which I hated. I would go to school to look at the girls I was too scared to talk to. I would go out with random people after school. I'd get home and eat some fucking seed oil bullshit, right? I'd have like some pizza or some pasta or some other bullshit, right? And then I would scroll on TikTok again, right? Done it in the morning, doing it again. I would goon, of course, right? If I hadn't done it in the morning, I'd definitely do it in the evening, right? And then I would just consume random bullshit until bedtime. I don't know why I put a smiley face, so definitely ignore that. And yeah, and then this is where it gets interesting, right? This is where it gets super interesting. This was my routine for almost like a year, maybe 2 years, and all of that changed 2 years later. So this was me 2 years later in year 11, if it loads, right? This was me doing pull-ups in a park, right? And my back looks fucking sick here. You can see like my lats definition, my like rhomboids and shit. And you can tell this was when I was in school, because like there's like a school shirt here. Like you can see like a school shirt here, and then my water bottle is somewhere there. Like, yeah, you can see at the back, it's just chilling there. And then, yeah, this was me 2 years later, right? So this was me in year 10. No, it was year 11. So it was either year 10 or year 11, right? And I went from, if the video stops playing, I went from this 2 out of 10 at 13 to this less than 2 years later, right? You can see like my whole like head shape and shit changes, right? I get a buzz car, I'm super locked in during this period, right? I'm doing pull-ups. And then yeah, this was outside a park, like near one of my friends' houses. And here's the thing, right? Loads of people are probably thinking in their heads, how the fuck did Raihan change so much in like less than 2 years, right? This was me before, right? Look how chopped I look. This was me in year 8, I think it might be, yeah, year 8. And then this was me in year 10, 2 years later, right? And here's everything I did, right? I deleted social media entirely. This is the big thing, right? And I'm not saying you need to do this. This is just something I did personally. And I deleted social media entirely, and it's something that changed my life. And not only that, right? I wouldn't just put one thing, because then it's easy for someone else to copy me, right? I started thinking for myself, right? This is the biggest thing that loads of people don't fucking realize, and loads of people who use TikTok and Instagram don't fucking do this, right? Most of you who use social media don't do this. You don't think for yourself, right? You might think to yourself that you do. You're being shaped by the content you watch. You're being shaped by the people who stories you click on. You're being shaped by that girl who triggered a certain part of your brain when you clicked on a story, right? So you're not thinking for yourself, right? These are the things that changed for me personally when I deleted social media, right? This wasn't just one social media. This was TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. And I was pretty much unfindable to like most of the people in my year group. Like I wasn't accessible, right? And with that, right, because I was off social media, right, like I wasn't using this like bullshit cancer sort of random applications, right? I wasn't using it. I just naturally had room to think for myself, right? I wasn't thinking about what the person in my year group was thinking. I wasn't thinking about what some girl thought about me. I was literally thinking about for myself, right? Because I was just in my own head all the time. And the biggest thing I learned from this was during these periods when I changed my life, I was literally just covering up such a shit life. This here was all just covering up a shit life, right? And you're probably thinking what I mean by this. What I mean was, if you look at my timetable when I was in year 8, right? When I was in year 8, like, I'm going to try and like sketch this out. Like this period, right? I wasn't actually doing anything. Like there was nothing productive going on and I was just covering up nothing. I couldn't sit with the uncomfortability of just not knowing how to do anything and not having any goals or missions, that I would literally just cover it up with TikTok, looking at random girls that I was too scared to talk to, right? I wouldn't even talk to them, and just eating bullshit, scrolling and gooning and doing all these bad habits, right? And there's something that happened, right? And this is something I explained to a friend when I went on a walk, right? And this is where me dropping law on a walk comes into play. And I remember on this one day, hopefully I can draw this time, me and this friend, right, we were on a walk, and I remember it was a bit sunny on this day, right? We just went for like a little walk. That was a very shit sun. Let's do this again. I don't want to edit this video because it will take ages. Just trimming and cutting stuff. So this was the sun, and then there was like a river, right? It wasn't a river, it was like a lake-ish sort of thing on this massive field near my home. And I remember on this day, right, we were just sat. So let's just say this is me. And then this is the friend, right, I was sat with. These are very bad sketches, but ignore them, right? And I remember on this walk, right, we'd gone for a walk, right, and I was getting my steps in, and me and him were having a really good conversation. And I was just talking to him that most people who use social media, who use music, who use all these artificial forms of stimulation, are just distracting themselves and covering themselves from a shit life, right? Which is what I wrote here. I was covering up a shit life, and so many other people are doing the exact same thing where they're covering up a shit life. And me and him were just talking about this, and I was just dropping so much lore. I remember I was sat on this thing, right, and there was like some mud, dried mud that was cracked, like on the floor. And I would just get like a random branch, right, and I would just start chiseling at it like I was playing Minecraft. And then it would just drop in the water and make a massive splash. And that was really funny, actually. And I remember me and him were just having a conversation. And one thing that I was really telling him was that most people are just covering up such shit lives, right? When you listen to music, right, which is just hyper stimulating as it is, when you're scrolling on social media, most people don't realize this, and it's that you're not just doing a bad habit, you're covering up a shit life, which is exactly what I was doing. When I was 13 years old, I had no goals, I had no mission, I had no purpose, I had nothing that was going on for myself. And I was just covering that up by doing bad habits that was just numbing me. And I think it's really important that I've said this because loads of people don't actually think about it like this. And everything changed when I took a step back from social media. You might not need to delete social media like I did. This is just something I did when I was in year 9. And I started thinking for myself. But I do think that for most guys watching this, you would benefit from maybe getting off of TikTok, maybe stop using Snap as much, maybe setting up app restrictions for like Instagram and stuff. But yeah, I think this is just what helped me, and I just really wanted to make this video because I know loads of guys were asking me and they were speaking about, Ryan, how did you change so much between when you were 13 and 16? Because the amount of progress I made from when I was in year 8 to year 11 was absolutely astonishing. Like my track record for improving from when I was like a teenager to like where I am now needs to be studied because I've learned and grown so much. And I just wanted to make this video to talk about how I think social media is the biggest thing that's causing a lot of problems for a lot of young guys. And I think it's important that we recognize that as young men to try and improve our lives. So I just wanted to make this video essentially to talk about what worked for me and what I learned from me improving myself in these 2 years. And then also me just dropping law on this walk, which was an amazing day. So yeah, I really hope this video has helped you. I didn't really have like a super specific structure for this video. It's really unedited and unscripted. So I'm hoping this video has been good, and I'm hoping that you've learned something. I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe if you got to the end of the video and you've heard me talk for the last 15 minutes. So yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for you if you're watching this video, and I'd really appreciate if you can like and subscribe because it just helps build my channel. It helps me grow a lot, and even commenting really helps because it helps boost the algorithm. There's more guys that need to see this video, and I really think that the amount of problems in this in the modern day are just astonishing, right? Like social media is killing everyone, right? Which was the topic of this entire video. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. And as always, there's always one last thing I say before the end of every video. Always strive for excellence, because great things will come your way.